Hello and welcome back to the next episode of Goji's Isle of Weird. I was actually pleasantly surprised at how popular the first episode of this series seemed to be. It got a lot of views and more than the usual number of likes. So thank you for that. I hope everyone enjoyed it. So we are back for more. And the first thing we're looking at today are these bendy monsters. I am unclear of the exact origin or timeline of these particular creatures. I first encountered them at a novelty store back in the 1990s, where they were being sold loosely in a countertop display box, as many cheaper toys are sold. I believe the header on the box said something like mythological creatures or something to that effect. They really weren't branded as individual characters. But I have seen auctions on eBay saying that the original versions of these may have been from the 1970s or 1980s, so it's possible that they've been around for a while. The versions that you're seeing here were released in the early 2000s by the company Archie McPhee, and that's a name you're going to be hearing quite often in this Isle of Weird series. Archie McPhee is a seller and manufacturer out in Seattle, Washington, that specializes in weird toy and novelty products. In that release, these bendy monsters were sold on colorful cards, and they were sold in pairs, as well as given names. From left to right in the back row, we have Lady Gorgon, the Green-Faced Harpy, Prince Reptilian, and King Captar. And in the front, we have Lord Hydra and the Hound of Hades. Bendables, or Bendies as they're more often called, is a classic toy that I had many of during my childhood. Basically, there is a wire armature with a rubber figure sculpted around it so that you can bend them and pose them in a variety of ways. I believe the first bendable was the character of Gumby back in the 1950s, and Bendies had a pretty good resurgence in the 1990s when the company Just Toys grabbed a bunch of licenses for bendy characters like Star Wars and many different Disney properties. There is no marking on this Lady Gorgon. Obviously, she is supposed to be Medusa, other than Made in China printed on her arms. So like many old novelty toys from the 70s and 80s, we have no idea who came up with these originally or who designed or sculpted them. But as a huge fan of monster toys, these are right up my alley. Unfortunately, there are no wires in Medusa's hair, so you can't bend the snakes. But they do look pretty cool, and that is a face only a mother could love. Here is the Green-Faced Harpy. Although honestly, she's got traits that are more common to the classic Greek Sphinx, because she does have paws instead of hands and feet, and this sort of lion-like tail. So I think she was supposed to be a sphinx. I would say to display her, she looks better on all fours. King Captar. Some people refer to him as a Sasquatch or a Yeti, but if you can see in his closed hand, that seems to be a tiny person sculpted in. So I think this is obviously supposed to be a knockoff of King Kong. Although with the size of those feet, I guess you could also call him a Sasquatch. I do love all the goofy faces on these. He looks like he just got kicked in the privates. Prince Reptilian is the most original looking creature out of this bunch. He's got traits of mythological creatures, B-movie swamp monsters, space aliens. You could pretty much make him whatever you want. I love the little points that are sculpted on the back of his head. Again, that face. He's got these, are they wings? Are they flippers? I guess you can decide. I think he's probably my favorite out of the bunch. And these have long been out of print, so I had to grab them from eBay. And the first two sets I got with no issue, but the last set, which included this guy and Lord Hydra, was on my save search list for a full year before one came up. They're not that expensive to acquire, but they still are rare. Here is Lord Hydra, probably my favorite coloring out of all of them, with that vibrant purple. And of course, being a Hydra, he's got multiple heads. And each head features some pretty goofy, googly eyes. No arms on this guy, he just has 2 big webbed feet. And a nice long, bendy tail. The Hound of Hades, obviously based on Cerberus, the 3-headed dog that guards the gates of Hades. Although this one doesn't seem too fearsome. He's built much like the Sphinx, with the 4 legs, although I do believe this is a different sculpt. He's got sort of a lizard tail with a barb on it. That looks pretty deadly. I like how they painted the heads that sickly green color. Very weird. The next item we'll look at in this video is these fantasy creature pullback racers that I found very recently at the discount store Five Below. They were being sold as 4 to a pack for $5. Usually with these type of toy cars, you'll see things like monster trucks, or I've seen dinosaur designs quite often, but these were very unusual as they were, as you can see, done as mythological creatures. We have a classic unicorn done in pink, and a dragon in a nice metallic purple. And these two seem to be modeled after creatures from some sort of mythology from Asia. I'm not sure if it's China, Japan, or elsewhere, but they do have a very unusual look about them. You often see dragons and unicorns and creatures from Greek myth, but these have a very different look about them. Pullback racers are a very common and classic toy. They have a little spring motor in them, so you put them on the ground, put friction on the wheels, pull them back, and they go. These were loads of fun when I was a kid. Your mileage may vary. That's it for this episode of Goji's Isle of Weird. Hope it was weird enough for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.